Hey everyone, it's Jeannie here. Today I am joined by actress Charlene Tilton, popularly known from her iconic role in the show Dallas, but is now starring in a new film, Heaven Sent. And I'm just so excited to learn more about her journey, and this role. Charlene, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Jeannie. It's nice to see you.
Same here. So people may know you, your fame was just uh everywhere when the TV show and all that was going on. And then God has taken you on such a journey. And I know, um, you know, not everyone knows the backstory. They see the beautiful face, they see the roles, they see everything that you're doing in the limelight, but they don't know the journey. And I'd love to introduce our audience to Charlene, not only the movie star, but kind of who you are and your journey up until this point. Can you share a little bit about that?
You're so sweet. First of all, I'm very fortunate. I know God has had his hand on my life and on me for I had a real recollection from the time I was 5 years old. I mean, a real cognizant sense, even though I wasn't sure what it was, what the Holy Spirit was, what God was. And I believe that God has his hand on everybody. And if we choose to acknowledge it or sense it, and but I was very fortunate about, and um just being I was in foster home from the age of 5 years old to 8 years old. And then ended up having to get my own apartment again at 15 years old on my own while I was in high school. So, but God was with me all the way, I have to say. And I had a lot of people helping me along the way. And um, I'm very fortunate today to be where I am, living close to my daughter, my grandsons, and doing this wonderful movie for PureFlix. It's called Heaven Sent, and it's streaming on PureFlix, which I love to call the inspirational Netflix, if you will. It's these movies are inspirational, faith-based, poignant, and this one happens to be quite funny as well, which I love. And this movie, Heaven Sent, we follow three people on their journey and finding love. And myself and my best friend in the movie, I play Pam, and my best friend is Elise. And we had a big hit song in the 80s. We were kind of like a one-hit wonder. And Elise ends up finding love with a pastor who's widowed. And I find love at a Christian speed dating evening. And but what I loved about the script is, first of all, you have Pam and Elise, a really strong female friendship. We have had a bond, and which I love that. And then I also love that when you meet the pastor who's widowed, he's going through his own grief, his own journey. But just because he's a pastor doesn't mean he's, doesn't have problems and issues. They play him as real. And then the pastor is also counseling a couple on the praise and worship team who are having problems in their marriage. So when I read the script, I loved the fact that they weren't sort of caricatures, if you will. They were real people going through real issues. And they weren't too heavenly minded to be any earthly good. You know what I mean? They were real people. So I loved that. And then Elisa's grandson, a very handsome young man, finds love with a beautiful lady on the internet. So you've got these three love stories that were all interconnected, and then we all find love at the end.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I got to see some of it. I and this is a good week. We just finished Valentine's. It's a good week
Yes.
to watch and sit down with family. So it's really nice. I wanted to ask you, you talked about PureFlix and just having good content, positive, friendly, family friendly, good content in the world. You've graced the cover of hundreds of magazines. You've been in and in the industry since you were a teenager. Talk to the importance of that. You understand how influential, you know, entertainment is, and how it affects people's lives. Can you kind of talk to that, the importance of having content where, you know, people can actually have it and be inspired, and also even maybe come to a faith that maybe if they don't have their own?
Well, I do think that it is very important. I think as Christians in the industry, whether it's music or film, God calls us to be excellent in everything that we do, and I think that that's first and foremost, be excellent, and and just love the people you're working with. And but see, I'm not here just to do faith-based material. I can go do and play an alcoholic that's in a bar somewhere. I can play, you know, any kind of a part that doesn't, and it doesn't mean I even haven't lived these things too. And the main thing I think is, especially myself, I've got 2 young grandchildren. I think it is very important. My grandchildren are 2 and 6. I think it's very important that people really understand what their kids, teenagers, and everything are watching, and what they are taking in, whether it's music, the internet, streaming services, social media. You have to know what they're taking in. You have to be aware, and judge it for yourself, and see what you allow in your house. Listen, there's an audience, and there is a place for these other streaming services. I have Netflix, Hulu, I've got them all, and I love different movies. I'm an actress, and I love filmmaking, and it's not to say that somebody can't be inspired by, you know, a tragic story, or watching somebody going down a dark path. It doesn't mean somebody can't be inspired by that, but know what you're taking in yourself, and know what your kids are watching. It's up to you as parents and grandparents and people to be aware.
Yeah. I love that the film does talk about finding love after tragedy. You know, we see the pastor who lost his wife, and you know, I know you've had your own fair share of tragedy. I've had my own fair share of tragedy. Talk about just getting to a place where you feel like you can love again, and it's okay to open your heart again after going through those tragic moments.
Well, 9 years ago, I was engaged to be married, and I lost my fiance. He passed away unexpectedly. I had rushed him into the emergency hospital. He wasn't feeling well, and I could see something was wrong, and rushed him into the emergency hospital, and they diagnosed him with pneumonia. And I kept telling the doctors and the nurses, he does not have pneumonia. I'm telling you that. He doesn't have pneumonia. I said, there's something wrong with his heart. They kept saying it was pneumonia. Well, no, he passed away, and it was heart failure. And they were treating him for pneumonia. And I didn't know the symptoms, all the symptoms of heart failure. I learned a lot. One of the symptoms of heart failure is your lungs fill up, or you have a backache, which he had for like a month before. He was having bad back problems. So I learned a lot with that. I learned, number one, every time you go into the hospital or doctor, you need an advocate, somebody who will really listen to you. And but after that happened, now I've been single for a long time, and I'm 64. Well, I'm not out there looking, you know, I'm not on any dating service. I'm not looking. If God puts somebody in my life, that would be wonderful. But I love the movie Heaven Sent, because I love the fact that Pam and Elise, we found love at our age. And, you know, listen, God can do anything. You know, he could part
Oh
the Red
yeah.
Sea, raise Lazarus from the dead. So, you know, but I don't want it if it's got to be, it has to be God's will, you know, for sure. And that's one area I'm going to say, I'm giving God control of that. I might take control back in other areas of my life. That one, like, it's really got to be you, God. If I'm going to meet someone, it's got to be you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the best thing to do, right? Because then if God gives the person, then you know it's good to go. Can you talk to anyone who may be, you know, reluctant to open their heart again? You know, I love that you've been through so much, and but still here you are open to whatever God would have for you. Can you kind of share to anybody that might feel like, oh, it's done for me, or I'm not even, you know, they're lost their hope?
Well, I kind of feel like that. I'm like, will I ever get married again? Will I ever meet somebody and have that companionship and share my life with? I don't know. I'm very content in my life the way it is right now. And I've always been very self-sufficient. I've been on my own since I'm 15 years old. So I've never really depended on a man to support me, to do. I've just never depended on that. If God, and I'm so set in my ways. I'm a little bit stubborn, and I like my life the way it is. I like my kitchen the way it is. I like things the way it is. The thought of sharing a space right now with somebody is like, that really would have to be God, because I'm so controlling and so self-sufficient. But God doesn't want us to be like that. And I know that. God, the threefold cord is not easily broken. And to find a wife is a good thing, and to have that union is a good thing. One can put 1,000 to fight, like two can put 10,000. So those are all things that I am very aware of, but it has to be the right thing. And I will say to Christian men, because I am sorry, I meet Christian men that, sorry, stand up, have a job, take care of yourself, work out, be in shape, be good, be the man, be the spiritual head. I mean, sorry, I'm not supporting you. Not my job.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, I'm speaking to Christian men. You gotta get your act together. So,
Yeah.
because I've unfortunately met a lot of Christian men that don't have their act together, and they can quote scripture all day long, but honey, let's see how you're living. Listen, I don't require a lot of gifts. I don't require any gifts. I don't require jewelry, fancy cars, anything like that. So be able to support yourself, be able to be in shape, take care of yourself. I don't want some old fogey that is walking around not unhealthy and sitting on the couch with a gut and all that stuff. I'm in shape. I have a lot of energy. You got to keep up with me.
Right. It's amazing you say that, because you say you're meeting people like that now. I know tons of younger Christian men too that are in the same condition. So I think that it's very good advice, to they make sure that they get their stuff together. Having a wife is a good thing, but you got to make sure you're in line to get that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your transparency. And I have a foster daughter now, and
Oh,
she's really young, but I see every day God's grace over her life. She doesn't know how awful things started out for her in her life, and she's with us, and she's only one. So it's beautiful to just know, that God is taking care of her. And I look at you and just, everything you've been through and the ups and the downs, and just how you're saying God has always taken care of you and he's always been there. And it gives me great hope, because I don't know what her future holds, but I do know that he will be with her how he's been with you. So thank you for, just being that example.
what is your daughter's name?
Her name is Yariana, my
Oh,
foster
that's
daughter. Yeah.
Jeremiah 29:11. For God knows the plans he has for her, future of hope and a future. That's amazing that you're doing that. I do a lot of work with foster kids in Middle Tennessee, and I work with an organization called Love from Music City. And these young kids are wonderful, but I also work with a lot of kids that are aging out of the foster system. And once they're 18, it's like they're shown the door, and here's your hat. What's your hurry? Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And then where do they go? What do they do? There's no follow-up. So I work with a lot with those kids too. So God bless you for doing that. There's a huge need. I'm in Tennessee and there's a huge need out here. So God bless you for doing that, and lots of love and blessing to your family.